Allison. I'm sorry that we bring.
Sorry,
I'm sorry
Allison.
we bring you in on that news.
Sorry, Alison, it's not about you.
No,
I wish I could
it's not.
smoke something to help improve my mood right
If
now.
only there was
you
something
know?
that could make us
Help me
happy.
wash
Boy.
away the difficulties.
If only.
Well, we will keep our eye on that developing news. Many people have worked very hard to make recreational marijuana legal in Washington State, but I don't think anybody has put in more hours in the process and been more influential than Alison Holcomb. Allison is the drug policy director for the ACLU, was the primary author of Initiative 502. She's the lady who essentially you penned the Declaration of Independence of recreational cannabis use in Washington. You're like our Thomas Jefferson.
Which is appropriate since the Constitution was written on hemp paper,
On
right?
hemp,
There you
See
go.
what I
Alison,
did
you're like
there?
my best friend. You don't even know it.
Yeah.
We're calling it the Declaration of Inhalation. I hope that works for you.
That'll work.
If you like that, you can keep that. You're the Thomas
Thank you.
Jefferson. That's you.
We'll just put a TM on that.
Now, huge progress has been made. Last week, the first stores got open. We're a little short on weed, but things are coming along. I know this is a work in progress, and I know we're going to probably be seeing some revisions to this law. And if anybody has any questions about where we're heading here in Washington with legal marijuana, you can talk to the lawyer that wrote the law right now by giving us a call, 877-901-0957. Alison Holcomb, welcome to 95.7 KJR.
Thanks so much for having me on, Bob. It's great to be here.
It's good. I'm Joe, though. But
Joe,
that's-
I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
Stoned? Let me see your eyes. Oh, my
I've
God.
only had one cup of coffee
Well,
this morning.
normal 99 times out of 100, you would be right. Bob Rivers would be sitting here. It is the Bob Rivers Show, so I could see how you would make that mistake. Honest mistake. I'm Joe Bryant. We've got Spike O'Neill, Jody Brothers. Bob's out today, but we're all here, and we're big fans of your work for the most part, I would say. And I think even Spike's giving the nod.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, I think everybody's pretty happy the way this has gone. What inspired you to write that initiative 502?
Well, the ACLU was coming at this from a civil liberties standpoint. We saw that there were way too many people that were being arrested and saddled with criminal convictions for engaging in adult responsible use of marijuana, something that we don't think is any more dangerous to society than having a cocktail or a beer after work, and using the criminal justice system to deal with what's really a health issue just struck us as really wrong. And it creates a whole host of problems. You know, people that have criminal convictions have a hard time getting student loans, getting jobs, getting apartments. And we create this cycle of more problems than what the law was intended to address.
When you did decide to write this and you sit down for the first, how do you start? I mean, you know, we the people know. I mean, what's the first thing you do?
Well, you know, we did have a lot of help in this. And one of the things that we were able to do is look at some legislation that had already been introduced by some representatives and senators down in Olympia. And then literally we opened up the Revised Code of Washington on the computer and hit search for marijuana and looked through the entire Revised Code of Washington to see every law that we had on the books that dealt with it. And the approach that we took was essentially to go into the laws that were there that made all of these activities illegal and carve out exceptions. What can we make legal? What kinds of regulations can we have in place? What kind of tightly controlled system can we create from the laws that are already there?
And how much wiggle room or revision room do we have? I know I heard you on the news a couple of days ago saying marijuana delivery really would make more sense than having that be illegal. Is there going to be opportunities to make changes into this law now that it's on the books?
Absolutely. Here in Washington, an initiative can't be amended for the first 2 years without 2/3 majority, but those 2 years have already passed, believe it or not. So this coming up session in January will only take a simple majority of the legislature to make any kind of tweak they want to.
So even though we're only a few days into actually seeing the marijuana in our stores, it's been a long time since we said yes to this.
I know. It doesn't seem like it's already been 2 years, but it has. Mm-hmm. And we've really started a new chapter, just as you've said. It was all theoretical until now. Now the stores are open, and now we get to see what this market will actually look like.
Well, waiting for a dealer is always taking a long time. We're used to this. So did you have any reservations when you were approached to take on this project? I mean, it's historical. It's not without controversy. Did you have to give it some thought ahead of time, or did you jump right in?
Absolutely. I mean, in doing this, the first thing we knew is we have to talk to the people that are concerned about public safety and public health. We have to talk to the people that are worried about kids, because what we want to be able to say is we have the same concerns. We have the same concerns about increased use in kids. We have the same concerns about our roads, about our workplaces, and we want to work with you to figure out what could we do to minimize the risks of those harms increasing. But the bottom line is this has never been done anywhere in the world before, so we have to watch carefully. And so we built in observation, research, and evaluation so that we have good information about what the impacts of implementation of this law are.
Well, the whole world is watching, and a lot of people want to talk to you, including some who have benefited from this initiative. We've got Jack in Bremerton. He is a licensed 502 processor. He was one of the lucky ones to get a processing license. Jack, welcome to 95.7 KJR. You're on with Alison Holcomb.
Hi, Allison. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I wanted to get your take on how you feel about how BioTrack is kind of dealing with the traceability programs and working with other vendors because, as you know, this has been a really long process. We've had a lot of hurdles to jump over with the state and submitting all of the information for everything that we're using in the process. And so now we're coming up against this deal where BioTrack is not allowing some of these vendors like MJ Freeway to tie into their IP address. And from what I understand, there's some kind of controversy going on with that. And I don't know if you are familiar with it.
I've heard of a number of bugs in the system, and I think what we all have to keep in mind is that the Liquor Control Board really had to start with the most conservative approach to this as possible because their number one goal is convincing the federal government that the state of Washington can do this. And so I think what we're going to see is, overly tight restrictions in some places, erring on the side of caution, and that's going to create problems. There are always going to be glitches in a system that's trying to control everything. And as we see that we can do this, the sky's not going to fall, we're going to be okay. I think we'll see some of these problems get addressed.
Right.
So get that weed ready, Jack, because I know we're ready. It's these the processors are the one, and I do remember that. It seemed like summer was always the dry time, even in the most illegal times, and I always assume that's just because the growers and processors like having the summer off like everybody else. You mentioned the Liquor Control Board. You think there's going to be a revision of the name because obviously we're controlling more than liquor at this point?
They were already floating the idea of changing it to the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board, which has the benefit of not having to change your acronym or your logo.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's the WLCB.
Exactly.
There you go.
About that control for cannabis.
Patrick in Lake Forest Park. And there's breaking news on this from yesterday, I believe. But you want to ask Allison about how the federal government is going to treat the income that comes from marijuana.
Yeah, I had a question specifically related to that. I didn't know if that was something you anticipated when you were drafting the law. But I work in the commercial real estate industry and got a lot of inquiries from owners of real estate wanting to know if they put these tenants in, how are the lenders going to approach that? And universally, the response from the lenders is, they're not going to put up with somebody having a 502 related business in a building they have a loan on.
Yeah. It's an issue because obviously the federal government has announced as a policy matter that it wants to let Washington and Colorado go ahead, but there's still all these pesky federal laws on the books that Congress is in control of. Fortunately, there are some really excellent representatives from Washington working on this issue, and U.S. Congressman Denny Heck just managed to get an amendment to a bill passed that's going to help us out with the banking issue, which is a huge issue, and that's really where the focus needs to be for a host of reasons, including what you're talking about with real estate loans, but also just the simple matter of course, not having this be a cash-only business, which is a huge risk for both the people in the business and the communities they live in.
So the other, I guess specifically one of the questions that I had of one of the people that was inquiring with me about financing a property was I was asking them how are they going to treat the income that they generate from this? I mean, I pay federal income tax. We all pay federal income tax, but is the federal government going to tax?
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah. Remember how they took Al Capone down?
Yeah, tax evasion. Pay your taxes.
Here's a tip for you.
How are they going to treat a business tax? Or these taxes on these businesses when they
Yeah, the other big issue. Yeah, the other big issue is a provision in the IRS tax code called 280E, and basically prohibits businesses engaged in illegal drug activity under federal law from deducting their normal business expenses. So it's ridiculous. These marijuana businesses are they don't get the same tax cuts that the rest of us that run businesses do. And that's probably number 2 priority. After fixing the cash problem, we've got to fix that so that, a huge goal, of course, in moving towards a legal market is to undercut the black market. And if you don't give your legal, licensed, regulated, tax-paying, law-abiding businesses a chance to compete with the black market, you're going to fail. So we've got to fix that problem.
Thanks, Patrick. Obviously, there are people with very specific questions, maybe a little more specific than a general audience would want to hear. Where can people ask these questions other than and on our show? Is there a place they can reach you or somebody in charge of this?
Should I just put my cell phone number out there?
No.
Just kidding.
Are you new to media, by the way? Welcome. You're doing great. But no.
Actually, the ACLU of Washington, ACLU-WA.org, has a page on its website dedicated to 502 implementation.
Alison Holcomb with the ACLU. She is the lady who wrote the initiative, amongst a lot of other hardworking people, to put legal marijuana in our state. And we will stay in touch with you as time goes on. I know the rules for edibles are getting revised, delivery. This is in flux, but yes, marijuana is legal in Washington State. And one of the people we have to thank for that is you, Alison. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, Joe.